Today, we get frustrated when the internet slows down for a few seconds. But in 1900 America, some people faced a far more serious delay. The delay between hunger and survival. In the harsh winter of 1900, in a small logging town deep in the forests of Oregon, 17-year-old Ethan Brooks woke up before dawn to the sound of wind shaking the thin wooden walls of his family's cabin. Snow had fallen heavily through the night, covering the ground in a thick white blanket. The cold was unforgiving, slipping through cracks in the walls and settling into every corner of their home. Inside that cabin lived 7 people: Ethan, his parents, and his 4 younger siblings. Their lives depended on one thing: work. Ethan's father, John Brooks, had been a strong lumberjack for most of his life. He spent years cutting massive trees, helping supply timber to a growing America, where cities were expanding and railroads were stretching further every year. Wood was essential for homes, for factories, for rail lines. But one accident changed everything. A falling tree had crushed his leg, leaving him unable to work the way he once did. In a time before proper medical care and workers' compensation, an injury like that didn't just end a job, it threatened an entire family's survival. That's when Ethan stepped forward. At just 17, he became the primary provider. Each morning before the sun even rose, Ethan walked several miles through snow-covered forest paths to reach the logging site. The journey itself was dangerous. Slippery ground, freezing temperatures, and the constant risk of wild animals made every step uncertain. But he had no choice. At the logging camp, men worked long hours cutting and hauling timber. The work was brutal. Axes struck wood again and again, saws cut through thick trunks, and heavy logs were dragged across frozen ground. Ethan's hands quickly became rough and cracked. His muscles ached constantly. But he never stopped, because every dollar mattered. In 1900, America was rapidly industrializing. Cities were growing, industries were expanding, and demand for resources like timber was increasing. But in remote areas like Oregon's forests, life remained incredibly difficult. Workers were paid low wages for dangerous labor. Ethan earned around $1.25 a day. It wasn't much, but it was enough to keep his family alive. Barely. Back at home, his mother, Sarah Brooks, managed everything with incredible care. She cooked simple meals, often stretching ingredients to feed everyone. Potatoes, beans, and occasionally a small portion of meat made up most of their diet. There were nights when the food ran low. On those nights, Ethan would quietly pretend he wasn't hungry. He would give his portion to his younger siblings, watching them eat while he sat silently by the fire. Despite the hardship, Ethan carried something powerful inside him: hope. Not the kind of hope that came easily, but the kind built through struggle. One evening in early 1901, after a long day at the logging camp, Ethan stopped by a small supply store near the edge of town. It was a simple place, selling tools, rope, lanterns, and basic necessities for workers. The store owner, Mr. Harold Jenkins, had seen Ethan come in many times, always tired, always quiet, always responsible. That evening, Mr. Jenkins noticed something different. Ethan wasn't just buying supplies, he was watching, carefully observing how the store worked, how items were arranged, how customers were greeted, how transactions were handled. "You thinking about something, son?" Mr. Jenkins asked. Ethan hesitated before answering. "I just want to understand how this works," he said. That simple sentence changed everything. Mr. Jenkins saw potential in the young boy. He offered Ethan a small opportunity, a part-time job at the store in the evenings. The pay was modest, but the experience was invaluable. For the next few years, Ethan lived 2 lives. By day, he was a lumber worker. By night, he was a student of business. He learned how to manage inventory, how to deal with customers, how to calculate costs and profits. He listened to conversations between traders and workers, slowly understanding the bigger picture of commerce. America was changing, and Ethan was learning to change with it. By 1905, something remarkable happened. With years of savings and the support of Mr. Jenkins, Ethan managed to buy a small share in the store. It wasn't much, but it was a beginning. Over time, Ethan introduced small improvements. He ensured fair prices, built trust with customers, and expanded the variety of goods available. His experience as a worker gave him an advantage. He understood exactly what people needed. Customers respected him. They trusted him. The small store began to grow. By the 1910s, Ethan had taken full ownership. The boy who once walked miles through the snow to cut timber was now running a successful business. But he never forgot where he came from. He made sure workers were treated fairly. He offered credit to families during hard times. He understood struggle because he had lived it. By the 1920s, as America entered a new era of growth and modernization, Ethan Brooks had become one of the most respected businessmen in his region. Yet inside his office, there was one small reminder of his past: an old, worn axe, its handle cracked, its blade dull from years of use. Visitors often asked why he kept it. Ethan would simply smile and say, "This built everything." Today, we worry about slow internet, delayed messages, and small inconveniences. But more than a century ago, in a frozen forest in Oregon, one young man faced challenges far greater. He didn't have technology, he didn't have comfort, he had responsibility, and the courage to keep going. Because sometimes survival is the first step towards success, and sometimes the hardest lives create the strongest people.